Greetings, Internet. My name is Chris, and this is my take on a Magicka Nightblade build. So with Homestead, Magicka Nightblade's got a buff. Well, more than a buff. So they had increased damage to their Twisting Path and just Path of Darkness in general, which is a really nice skill to begin with. And they also had a fix to their Merciless Resolve and also the stamina version, which means the bow proc does a lot more damage, which is really nice as well. So you can't even get up here anymore. And there was something else as well, I don't remember what it was. Did it have a few nerfs? So for example, Soul Harvest, and the other equivalents, the Incapacitating Strike as well, were increased by 20 ultimate. But to be honest, it was pretty cheap to begin with. I think 50 ultimate for an ability that good is a little bit too cheap. And then they also had the cost of what's it called? Funnel Health and Swallow Soul increased. So you can see now it costs 1.2k Magicka for me, and that's with 100 points in Magician. I still think that's really cheap, because if we compare it to Force Pulse, that's still 500 more Magicka. And it's a nice skill, I think. Swallow Soul and Funnel Health. I mean, it's just two different mobs. Anyway, so yeah, they had a few buffs, and also with One Tamriel, it's a while back, of course, they added jewelry to a lot of sets. Which has made our new gear combo possible, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Do note that two of my pieces are VR14, and the gear itself is not what I actually want it to be. Like, it's not the right pieces and stuff. So we're running Scathing Mage and Burning Spellweave. Burning Spellweave has easily become one of the best sets for Magicka setups. Scathing Mage is a little bit better, just because of the uptime that's possible with this. Usually with Scathing Mage, I have about 70% uptime, which means from the 500 spell damage, if you take the uptime and then multiply it with the spell damage it gives. So let's say we have 70% uptime, the spell damage is 500. I'm just rounding it out. We multiply 500 by 70, so 0.7, and that's 350. So the consistent spell damage from this is 350 spell damage. If we do the same with Burning Spellweave, which can't have more than 60% uptime, then the 572 multiplied by 0.6, then it's a lower number than Scathing Mage. So Scathing Mage ends up being more spell damage than Burning Spellweave. But it's only better if you can have it at a higher uptime than Burning Spellweave, of course. So yeah, we're running those two sets, and you can see I have 3 jewelry of Scathing Mage. So since Scathing Mage is actually the one that does the most spell damage, it should be jewelry of Burning Spellweave, because then I could gold out the Scathing Mage without having it gimped by purple jewelry. So the thing is, Scathing Mage and Burning Spellweave don't have legendary jewelry, which means if you gold out the armor pieces, or if you get weapons, then they'll suffer, because you still have purple pieces dragging down the overall quality. So if I increased all of my Scathing Mage pieces, I might get more spell damage. Well, I would get more spell damage if the jewelry wasn't part of the set. If that makes any sense. Probably not, because I tend to not make much sense. Anyway, so that's the gear we're running. You could also see our weapons we have a random crafted sharpened staff, and then we have a Maelstrom Inferno staff. It's decisive, which is a terrible trait, but whatever. It's good on the off bar at least, because it does 1.3k extra damage from light and heavy attacks. and it also adds spell damage. It's nice for an offhand. Obviously, I wouldn't use this on my main bar. Sharpen is the best trait by far. I have this precise burning spellweave inferno staff that I was running with for a while, and then I had the let's see, where is it? And I had the Ice Heart helmet one piece for crit. But the thing is, I was actually losing DPS, even though I had more crit with that setup. I was losing DPS because the sharpen is so powerful. Like, it was like, just on a test dummy by myself, I was losing like 1k DPS. So, you know, with all the buffs and stuff, it easily becomes like 3 or 4k DPS that you lose. Because sharpen is really, really powerful. And that basically goes for all DPSs. There are very few circumstances where, with enough group debuffs and buffs and whatever, that you actually get enough penetration that sharpen doesn't really matter. But those are very, very few instances that most people won't encounter. So go with sharpened, it's the best by far. For skills, we run Force Pulse, so this is our main bar. Force Pulse, Merciless Resolve, Crippling Grasp, Impale, Inner Light, Soul Harvest, Siphoning Attacks on the off bar, so this is off bar, yeah. Siphoning Attacks, Blockade of Fire, Elemental Drain, actually that's not true, it's Sap Essence usually, Twisting Path, Inner Light again, and Shooting Star. We use Inner Light on both bars just for the extra Magicka. We already get the spell damage from our potions, as you can see right here. I need to craft more potions, I can see. So yeah, so we already get the crit from another source, but we do want the extra Magicka. You can see I'm only sitting at about 40k Magicka, but that's because 2 of my pieces are VR14. I put all the good Burning Spellweave pieces on my Dragonite, so these are basically just remnants from before City of Ash was scaled up to VR16. Okay, so I'm just gonna go through the skills. Force Pulse is our main spammable, and you can either light weave it or medium weave it, and I'll explain you the difference here in a second once I get to the target dummy. Our second skill is Merciless Resolve. It will proc a bow that you can shoot when you do 4 light attacks. That will proc it basically. Anyway, let's start with Force Pulse here. So you can either light weave it, which is when you do a light attack and then Force Pulse, which is fairly easy, and that's the way I prefer it because it's simple. You can also do a medium weave where you do the Force Pulse first and then charge a heavy attack and let go as soon as the animation is over. This is called a medium weave. The difference is obviously that the medium weave does more DPS. You see that it's like a partial heavy attack basically. That's why it's called medium weave. It does more DPS, but it's kind of hard to what's it called? Like, it's kind of hard to get used to because you still have to light weave in between everything else. So basically, to save myself an aneurysm, I basically just light weave everything. Makes my life so much easier because I'm already getting like sick tunnel vision from this setup sometimes. Then we have Merciless Resolve, which you activate it like that, and then if you do 4 light attacks and then procs. Actually, I think it can be proc with everything, right? Light or heavy attacks, yeah. So it would be procced from 4 medium weaves. So, you know, so we could medium weave. Oh, you can see, so that nothing happened there, like no medium weave came out because I was actually spamming my Force Pulse a little bit too fast. You want to make sure you give, you know, the attack a second to come out. I'm a little bit too fast because obviously I'm not used to medium weaving, but yeah, you can see the bow then procs and you can fire it. It does pretty good damage as well. Then we have Crippling Grasp, which is basically just a dot, and then we have Impale, which is our execute. Impale, you can light weave in a really nice way as well. It's basically the same as light weaving Force Pulse. You do the light attack first and then Impale. Again, you want to make sure you don't spam the Impale because then it's really, really hard to get the light attack in. actually impossible. So you want to do the light attack first. Make sure you give yourself a second before you use Impale. That's how you do that. The Soul Harvest ultimate, we only use that when the target is below 25%. Same with Impale. Basically, you go from weaving with Force Pulse to Impale once the target goes to 25%. On the off bar, oh, that's not where I want to go. On the off bar, we have Siphoning Attacks, which is basically our resource builder. It's a crazy good ability, basically. So let me spam away some resources real quick. It's kind of hard with a Nightblade, to be honest. Nightblades have really nice resource control already. Anyway, so you can see now I'm pretty low. If I use Siphoning Attacks, then every time I light attack or do damage with an ability, it basically builds my resources back. It's extremely powerful. Then we have Blockade of Fire. It's a really good dot that is also used to trigger our Burning Spellweave. Then we have Sap Essence, which is basically just our AoE. It's also a nice self-heal. You see it scales off of how many targets you hit. And then we have Twisting Path, which is another dot. You couldn't see that there because I don't have a camera on me, but I just did air quotes because it's not a dot. It's not considered a dot in game. It's considered a direct attack. So actually, let me just read the two sets we were wearing. So Scathing Mage procs when you do direct critical damage. That means something that's considered a direct attack. Force Pulse is considered a direct attack. The bow from Merciless Resolve is considered a direct attack. Impale, Soul Harvest, the first hit of Meteor, Sap Essence, and Twisting Path. All of those are considered direct attacks. Blockade of Fire, the dot from the Meteor, and Crippling Grasp are all considered dots, so they don't proc it. Burning Spellweave procs from fire damage, so it can be anything direct or dots. And you can see both of them just give us spell damage. The highest I've seen it do is 5.3k spell damage when both of them were procced, when my potion was up, when I had buffs from a group mate and stuff. I have a picture of getting 5.1 that I was quick enough to grab, so I'll show you that right here so you just see I'm not bullshitting. So it is possible to get like quite a lot of spell damage with this setup. Before we go into rotation, we're just gonna take a look at the Mundus Stone. I'm running the Thief, and you can see our crit is pretty high. But yeah, my gear's not legendary yet, which if it was, obviously I would get more out of the Divine's trait I have on all the pieces. So it would be even higher. Like, it would probably go up to like 75% crit when all my gear was legendary, which is quite a lot of crit, and it's really good for this setup. I've also tested out the Shadow Stone. That's what I used to run with before, but it's not as good anymore. Basically, when I switched to the Thief Mundus, the only thing that dropped in DPS was the it's not even here. Was the Merciless Resolve, because it's a single shot that benefits a lot from crit, obviously, since it's a really big hit. But that's about it. Everything else went up in DPS, basically. Okay. Oh yeah, I think I talked about the staves as well, didn't I? If you can get your hands on 2 Maelstrom Inferno staves, then that would be really good for this setup. Or if you could get like, I don't know, like Scathing Mage staves or Burning Spellweave staves, and then run a helm of either Ice Heart, or you see Ice Heart here is 1 piece crit, or Molekina, which is 1 piece weapon damage and spell damage. In case you're wondering, you get Molekina from White Gold Tower, you get Ice Heart from Direfrost, what is that called? Direfrost Caverns, is it? Let's see. Oh, Direfrost Keep, yeah. You get Burning Spellweave from City of Ash, and you get Scathing Mage from Imperial City Prison. So this setup, unlike my previous Dragonite build I showed you last week, does require DLCs to get. So yeah, there's that. Alright, so yeah, we're running the Mundus, the Thief Mundus. Our champion points are as follows. We have 100 in Magician, we have 100 in Arcanist, and those are in the green tree. Here, I think it should be... fuck, I don't remember. There was something about a jump point or something. I don't remember how it works. Whatever. As I usually say, my champion points are kind of random. I tend to just shift them around once in a while, depending on my mood. But this is what I have right now. 100 in Elemental Expert, 59 in Elfborn, 10 in Spell Erosion, 1 in Staff Expert, and 30 in Thaumaturge. I don't have that many in Thaume, just because I don't have that many dots with this build. I would put a lot more points into it if it wasn't for the fact that Twisting Path is not considered a dot. In the red tree, I have 30 in Spell Shield, and then I split everything else between Hardy and Elemental Defender. So that's how I do those. Alright, Jesus, my ping is getting really high. It's always like around 200, but it's been a lot higher lately, I noticed. I'm not sure what they're doing with the servers, but it's nothing good, from what I can tell. I mean, for God's sake, it's like during the day for me, which is like downtime on the NA server, and I'm like still rocking like 200 plus ping. It's kind of annoying, I think. You know, I'm in my own home and freaking Stros Mackay of all places. It's just kind of annoying. I wish they would do something about the performance of this game. That is like one of my biggest annoyances right now. Other than the fact that, you know, they haven't done any new content since what, fucking Shadows of the Hist, whatever. Anyway, I'm just bitter, I think. The rotation, I'm just going to put on Elemental Drain, because I'm going to show you the rotation on dummy. The rotation is basically as follows. You start off with Merciless Resolve, buff that, and then you use Mage Light and empower the Meteor, and then drop the Meteor. Then you Light Weave into the Blockade of Fire. Light Weaving into it makes it faster. Light Weave again into the Path, swap bars, and then you Light Weave into Crippling Grasp, and then Light Weave Force Pulse. If the bow triggers, then you fire it and rebuff. Every time you rebuff Merciless Resolve, you should do a light attack and then rebuff. Otherwise, it's dead time, basically, where nothing happens. So it's better to Light Weave that. Basically, you want to Light Weave everything. And if you get good at it, then by the end of it, your light attacks will be your highest DPS contributor. And then you do Force Pulse 3 times, or if you take too long, just 2. Swap back, Light Weave into the Blockade of Fire, into the Path, back, and then you just keep doing it again. It's a little bit tricky to get used to all the Light Weaving and stuff, but once you master it, you're gonna get a lot higher DPS than usual. And that goes for pretty much any build. Weaving is a really essential part to it. Right, I'm gonna see how much I can get here. I might go quiet because I tend to focus a lot when I do these things. Anyway, here we go. See, the animations are a little bit weird. Like, there's like a weird delay or something. Basically, you want to try and never let your... Come on, Meteor. Never let your blockade of fire run out. Because it's a really high DPS contributor. You see already my rotation is faltering a little bit. The thing is, I have to, you know, rebuff the elemental drain myself, which makes my rotation a little bit clunky. See, I actually let it run out right there. Yeah, I'm not maintaining that high of a DPS because I'm screwing up a bit. But yeah, that's sort of how you want to do it. Hopefully that made sense. Anyway, thanks for watching.